Topic 61, using graphic organizers to structure an essay and collect evidence. By the end of this podcast, you should be able to construct a graphic organizer appropriate to various essay prompts and to use a graphic organizer to collect evidence for writing an essay. In the previous podcast, we looked at the importance of examining an essay question before beginning to write. There is, however, one more step necessary prior to putting pen to paper to write your introductory paragraph. After understanding the type of work required through the verb or verbs of the question and identifying the distinct parts of the question, you will need to construct a graphic organizer based on this information. This organizer will ensure that your essay stays on track and answers the question that the professor asked. It will also serve as the place where you can collect evidence from the various sources that you've been asked to consult. In our course, these sources will be your online textbook readings, the podcast or lectures, and the primary source analyses you conduct during in-class activities. You should never, ever begin any essay without first constructing a graphic organizer based on the question and filling in that organizer with evidence. As an example, let's use our essay question from the previous podcast. Describe the responses of slaves and freed African Americans to slavery and analyze how the institution of slavery changed between 1775 and 1830. Since we confirmed that our response to this question needed to cover 3 separate parts, we might draw a graphic organizer that contains 3 columns. Our first column might be labeled up top, Description of Slaves to Slavery. Our second column, Description of Freed African Americans to Slavery. And our third column, Analysis of how the institution of slavery changed between 1775 and 1830. Feel free to abbreviate long words and leave out small words like the, but be sure to leave in words based on the verbs of the question. Here, description from describe, and analysis from analyze. Now that you have the graphic organizer drawn and labeled, it's time to fill it in with evidence. Go back through your notes from each source required, one at a time, and fill in the columns with appropriate evidence. Not every source will contain useful information for every column. However, if you find consistently that your notes fall short for most of the columns, this is a sign that you need to take more thorough notes while reading and/or listening. Don't segregate the information within the columns by source. You want to link evidence and ideas from across the sources so that you can make the most compelling argument. Once your columns are filled with evidence, you're ready to move on to the topic of our next podcast, writing a thesis statement. Before doing so, however, it's worth noting that not every essay question will be as concrete as the example above. For instance, the response paper 1 question, which colony, New England or the Chesapeake, influenced the development of the United States during the period 1630 to 2016 to a greater extent, does not provide any mandated internal tasks. Though I suggested ways that you might organize your response in the assignment on Blackboard, for example, according to religion, economy, race, these are not required topics, so you can organize your paragraphs as you wish. Do not, however, take this to mean that your essay needn't contain any paragraph structure at all. A broad question means that you must decide what the structure will be. or rather what the labels at the top of your graphic organizer will be, before you start collecting evidence and well before you write your introduction, the subject of our next 2 podcasts. For now, remember to take 20 or more minutes responding to any essay by constructing a graphic organizer based on the question and collecting your evidence in it. Good luck, and see you in the next podcast.